All right, in today's lesson, we are going to solve one-step equations some more, just to get some additional practice. When we do this, whether it's with tiles or it's symbolic, remember our two golden rules. You always do the opposite, and what you do to one side, you gotta do the other. So let's start with the tiles, okay? So there's 3 steps when we write this out in tiles, and I'm gonna write out what those steps are before we do anything, just so you know. The first step is we translate the equation into a picture. Now, and I'll do that step right now. So if we take a look at the equation, the first thing that we see in the equation is -3. So if I'm going to draw out -3, I'm going to draw out what? What's -3? Three non-shaded little squares. Yes. So there you go. And then I have an equal sign. The equal sign is like the little balance. This is the balance on the equation, okay? And then I've got a G. How do I draw a G?
A shaded rectangle.
A shaded rectangle. So here we go. Here's a rectangle, and let's shade that rectangle. And then we have -1. How do I draw a -1?
Unshaded square.
Unshaded square. Perfect. Okay? So that's the first step that we're always doing, is we're translating the equation into a picture. Here's our picture. That's our first step, okay? Yeah. Now our second step, no matter what we do, is where we always, I'm going to say this in 2 ways. I'm going to say, I'm going to try to avoid using mathy terms here. I'm just going to say get the variable. I'm going to say, well, you are using a mathy term, so I'm going to use in brackets, get the rectangle. We're going to get the rectangle by itself, okay? We're going to get the rectangle by itself. And in order to do that, we add one what? Tell me, use shaded, unshaded, and tell me the kind of object. A shaded small square. We're going to add a shaded small square to both sides. So again, what we have to draw is we have to draw this fun thing back out again before we do that. And then we have to add a shaded small square on both sides. I will use a different color to emphasize that's what we're doing. And by doing that, we are getting the rectangle by itself. Okay? We are getting the rectangle by itself because we're adding that shaded little square to both sides. And when we do that, we're also making 0 pairs. Okay? So this is kind of like also what we partially do here. So if we take a look at this, we always have a 0 pair on the side of the rectangle, and sometimes we have more than one. But here we just have 1 0 pair, so we're just going to make that 0 pair. And we may or may not have 0 pairs on this side. You have to have positives and negatives. If there's all positives or all negatives, you don't have 0 pairs. So do we have any 0 pairs here? How many? 1. We have 1 0 pair. There we go. So we're going to cross that out. And now, step 3 is you draw what's left. Draw what? I'll just put remains. That's even better. Draw what remains. So step 3 is we have, what do we have on the left side of the equation left? 2 unshaded little squares. What do we have on the right side that's left? 1 shaded rectangle. And then the last thing that we do is we translate back to an equation. So what does this say to you? G equals -2. That's correct. And there we go. So that's how we solve an equation using algebra tiles. Here's the second question, is j plus 8 equals -1. So what we need to do, the first thing we need to do is we need to write out the equation, okay? And this is the only step we need to show. We need to get the j by itself, so we have to get rid of the plus 8. We have to get rid of the plus 8. And to get rid of the plus 8, here's the deal. I know I'm going to put an 8 here, and I know I'm going to put an 8 here. Now what you have to do is you have to ask yourself this question. What's going to get rid of this 8? If it's adding, then I better add it. If it's subtracting, I better subtract it. And you have to pay attention to the sign on the 8. So what would do it? Would it be adding 8 or subtracting 8? So it's subtracting 8, so I put a minus 8 here, and what you do to one side, you do to the other. So I put a minus 8 over here. And then we have, what's on the left side now? J. And what's on the right side? Negative 9. That's it. Now I just want to give you a word of caution, okay? My word of caution is I saw this on a couple people's paper. That's a tongue twister I just made myself. I saw this on a couple people's papers yesterday, Mikey. In math, it's convention that when we do something that takes a bunch of steps, don't write this down, but just observe. If you had something like 2 plus 4 times negative 3 squared, let's say, the next step, I would square it. So I'd go equals 2 plus 4 times 9 equals 2 plus 36 equals 38. What's conventional about what I did is what I do is I put equal signs at the start of each line, okay? That's conventional, okay? What I saw in some people's papers yesterday was when they were solving equations, they put equal signs at the start of each line. You don't need the equal sign. In fact, it's not good to have it because there's already an equal sign. And where's the equal sign? It's in the middle. Okay? So there's already an equal sign in the middle. So we don't put equal signs on the sides. Okay? When we're solving an equation, there's already an equal sign. So we don't put an equal sign at the beginning. Okay? That's all.